Now, I'm not saying that James Carville is a barely functioning with nothing left of value in this world. I'm not saying that at all. I'm also not saying it's pointless to tar and feather him because he still sheds his skin twice a year. And I'm also not saying if James Carville choked to death on one of his morning feedings of live mice, he wouldn't be missed. Wow, it sure is fun to not say things. I'm going to start.
What happens when a political titan, a legend forged in the fires of 90s political warfare, steps into an arena he no longer recognizes? What happens when the Ragin' Cajun, a man who once whispered strategy into a president's ear, comes face to face with a modern-day court jester who wields a sledgehammer disguised as a punchline? You get more than a debate. You get an execution, broadcast live for the world to see. This is the story of how James Carville, the ghost of politics past, was surgically dismantled by Greg Gutfeld, the comedian who has become the new king of political commentary. And the battle wasn't over policy, it was over reality itself.
Up to embracing Pumpkinhead just yet. Carville's like a parent who doesn't say anything about his rotten brat until it affects him and crashes his Mercedes. This problem's been here for years. It's done untold damage. It's cost a lot of death. And now he calls BS on it? Thanks, but you're showing up at last call. Let's not forget what else he said. He said that people that go to Trump rallies are pretty much brain-dead deplorables. He said some pretty awful things. If he could call them retarded, he would have. So his criticisms actually hit everyone, and it doesn't come from a place of common sense or common people. It comes from an elitist perch. He's not a man of the people. He's a man protecting a system that paid him well. On the whole, he would prefer to jail a Trump supporter who stole a podium over an Antifa creep who burns a business. So there you go.
Oh, God. James Carville is a name that echoes through the halls of political history. He was the mastermind behind Bill Clinton's stunning 1992 victory, a bare-knuckle brawler who perfected the art of the attack. His famous mantra, "It's the economy, stupid," became a defining phrase of a generation. For decades, Carville was the gatekeeper of Democratic strategy, a snarling, passionate force who could terrify opponents and rally the base with a single fiery speech. He was a political phantom, a relic from an era when a war room, not a Twitter thread, decided elections. But in recent years, that fiery passion has curdled into something else, bitter frustration. The world he helped build had left him behind, and the party he once led was now speaking a language he couldn't comprehend. The fire that once forged a presidency now seemed to be consuming him from within, and that frustration, that raw, exposed nerve, would soon become a weapon used against him.
Political strategist and hairless goblin, James Carville trash-talked his fellow Dems in our video of the day. Roll it, Agatha.
We keep wondering why these young people aren't coming home to the Democrats, or why blacks are not coming home to the Democrats. Because Democratic messaging is full of That's why.
Wow.
And talk about cost of living. And we're going to help deal with this. And don't talk about GAFA and student loans.
Kennedy, that nice little old lady is making some sense.
Right.
She really is.
She's such a gentle lesbian. What's her name?
On the other side of the battlefield sits Greg Gutfeld, a man who views the political world not as a sacred institution, but as a dark, absurd comedy. He doesn't see opponents, he sees material. His arena isn't the Senate floor, it's the late-night laugh track, and his weapon of choice isn't moral outrage, it's ruthless, targeted ridicule. Gutfeld mastered a new kind of political warfare, one where you don't debate the premise, you detonate it with a smirk. He understood that in the modern media landscape, the person who controls the punchline controls the narrative. To his audience, he's not just a commentator, he's a translator for the insanity, the one person willing to say that the emperors of politics have no clothes. When James Carville, boiling with old guard indignation, decided to step onto Gutfeld's turf, he had no idea he was walking into a meticulously laid trap.
Carville looks like someone liberated him from a glass tank at Petco. Glad he's taking a break from hunting down Sigourney Weaver. But is he saying these people should be placed in pajamas, have their heads shaved, and march down Pennsylvania Avenue and spit on?
I'm not saying that these people should be placed in pajamas and have their heads shaved, march down Pennsylvania Avenue, and spit on. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that that did happen. And I'm saying that these people betrayed the French nation.
I feel like he's like a therapist to the Democrats. Democrats are like a patient. And he's just tired of their constant whining without actually doing the work that a therapist would tell you to do.
Well, Carville, on the idea that there's like a Republican plant, what is wrong with that 10 or 15% of Democrats that everything that they say, this plant or whomever it is, it's a progressive, it's not a Republican, let's mutilate kids, let's put men and women's locker rooms, and let's make sure that we have these drag shows for kids, and they're like, yay! It's their fault. It's stupid. And he's right.
Dana, did I hear Jessica say that we should doge electric?
The first cracks in Carville's armor were self-inflicted. In a moment of shocking candor, he publicly unloaded on his own party's failures. He declared that Democratic messaging is full of shit, openly mocking the woke lexicon and the focus on what he called gossamer issues, while everyday people struggle with the cost of living. It was a rare moment of brutal honesty, a crack in the partisan armor that revealed a man at war with his own side. He was furious that his party was alienating voters, particularly men, by embracing what he saw as fringe activist causes. This wasn't the strategic mind of 1992. This was a wounded animal, lashing out in confusion and rage. For Gutfeld, this was blood in the water. Carville wasn't just an opponent anymore. He was a walking, talking embodiment of establishment decay, and his own words had provided the perfect opening for an attack.
Right.
Dana, did I hear Jessica say that we should doge electric car subsidies?
The theory is that Carville's right because, who's more likely, to get hit by lightning? Somebody who's sitting in their couch at home or somebody who goes out at night for a run. Anybody who actually takes action puts themselves at risk. And always in action, always in play, a lot like you on the weekends.
Hard to see insight into, what Carville says. I don't know how he became the wise man of politics.
Nostradamus.
The on-air collision was less of a debate and more of an autopsy. Carville arrived with his signature high-octane energy, his voice rising, his hands gesturing wildly, trying to sound the alarm about the existential threats facing the nation. He was a whirlwind of righteous fury, a throwback to an era when pundits could command attention by shouting the loudest, but he was trying to use an AOL dial-up modem to fight a 5G flamethrower. Gutfeld, in stark contrast, leaned back with a predatory calm. He didn't try to match Carville's energy. He didn't raise his voice. He simply watched, waited, and let Carville exhaust himself. While Carville launched into tirades about right-wing extremism, Gutfeld calmly pointed out the absurdity of a party that believes men can get pregnant and that the economy is thriving while people are living on credit cards. He treated Carville not as a threat, but as a curious, slightly tragic spectacle.
James Carville's wondering if there's a plant in the party, pushing them to back the dumbest ideas possible. Watch.
It's like there's a plant somewhere in, quote, progressive, unquote, America that just sees how many stupid things that they can embrace. There has to be a AI-generated progressive generator of really
Carville and others like him are so wrapped in their mythology that they've lost all touch with reality.
And then it happened. Pushed to his breaking point, frustrated and flailing, Carville dropped a rhetorical bomb that would vaporize any credibility he had left. In a stunningly vicious analogy, he compared Trump supporters to the French women who collaborated with the Nazis during World War II. He didn't just suggest it. He painted a grim picture, saying they should have their heads shaved and be marched down the street to be spat on. The studio fell silent. This wasn't just a political jab. It was a glimpse into the abyss. The mask of the folksy strategist completely slipped, revealing a deep, simmering hatred for millions of his fellow Americans. It was the moment Gutfeld had been waiting for. He didn't even need to attack. He simply had to hold up a mirror to the ugliness Carville had just spewed. In that instant, Carville was no longer a political commentator. He was the poster child for the coastal elitism and detached contempt that has driven so many voters away.
There's a certain coastal arrogance in this country, and people feel it. The Western far left is habitually the most stupid, naive people you can imagine. And they come up with these really goofy constructs, and it's all about feeling.
With Carville's mask and pieces on the floor, Gutfeld went to work. He didn't just mock the man, he put an entire generation of political thinking on trial. He exposed the establishment playbook for what it is, a tired, repetitive cycle of fear-mongering. He highlighted the Chicken Little strategy, where every election is the most important of our lifetime, and every political opponent is a step away from becoming a dictator. Gutfeld articulated what millions of people already felt. They were tired of being lectured by the same people who had been wrong time and time again. The apocalypse on demand rhetoric, the feigned moral superiority, the high-pitched panic masked as insight. Gutfeld laid it all bare and laughed it off the stage. He used Carville as a proxy for the entire system, showing how it relies on stoking division and terror because it has nothing else to offer. It was mercilessly accurate, and for anyone watching outside the D.C. bubble, it was refreshingly honest.
The Washington Post ran a fluff bomb celebrating centrist Democrat women, going gaga over their resumes, mom energy, and group chat chemistry. But in this journalistic stroke job, not a single policy position was mentioned, which is weird. That's like doing a profile on me and not mentioning my many bodybuilding awards. Thank you. So why is that? Why'd they bend so far backward to avoid a basic stance? Maybe because in the current state of their party, it's better just to keep your head down and to stay safe. They substitute substance with nicknames, the Mod Squad or the Badass Caucus. But it's fake.
The aftermath was an internet firestorm. Social media exploded with clips of the exchange, with memes casting Gutfeld as the calm executioner and Carville as the sputtering relic. The takedown was complete because Gutfeld understood the new rules of engagement. He knew the battle wasn't won by citing polls or debating policy points. It was won by framing the narrative. Carville came armed with a political slingshot, firing pebbles of panic and outrage. Gutfeld brought a drone strike of logic, wit, and ruthless clarity. He never got flustered because he treated the entire event as a roast, and Carville was the unwitting guest of honor. He underestimated Gutfeld, seeing him as just a funny guy on a late-night show. He forgot that Gutfeld has mastered the art of mixing political insight with gut-punch humor, a combination that the old guard has no defense against.
Lowest rated president a month into his presidency than any president in United States history. That's the fact. I can be fact-checked. They can do whatever they want.
That's fine. We can go.
This in 2025, he's at plus 4 points.
Look where he was in 2017, his first term at this point. He was at -5 points, so he's doing nearly 10 points better on the average. And more than that, as I mentioned, it's not just the CBS News poll, it's the Ipsos poll, it's the Gallup poll, it's the Pew poll.
You're reading these polls, and I'm reading the polls saying the Democrats are 13 points up in the congressional generic, that Donald Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president at this point in his presidency in American history. So your viewers are getting one view, and I'm reading another view. So one of us is right and one of us is wrong.
He's in. Every single day, Donald Trump has been in positive territory compared to just 11 days during his first term.
It's not going to do any good for us to sit here and argue, because your viewers can believe you, and it can go to real clear politics, and they can actually...
The Dems aren't losing the black and Hispanic vote. They're losing the black and Hispanic men, right? Why don't they break that down, that men are fleeing the Democratic Party like it's a showing of Barbie? It's because it's terrifying to them that they're becoming the party of awfuls, right? Affluent, white, female liberals. The Democratic Party has become like almost like a political version of the Bud Light commercial with Dylan Mulvaney. They've alienated men in order to please miserable activists. And men are like, hey, we know when we're not wanted. We'll see ourselves out. We know what a woman is, right? We know what's best for our kids. We know what it takes to protect our cities and our families. And we're tired of apologizing for laughing at funny jokes and at having natural testosterone, right? So they know that the Democratic Party has become a gender-specific party.
In the end, this wasn't just another heated cable news segment. It was a symbolic crossroads for political media. It was the moment a relic of the past, armed with Cold War metaphors and Reagan-era talking points, was rendered obsolete in real time. The Rajin Cajun, a master of a game that no longer exists, was retired not by a rival politician, but by a comedian who understood the new rules. Gutfeld didn't just embarrass a man. He blew the dust off a decaying ideology and held it up for all to see. The message was devastatingly clear. The age of the self-important, fear-mongering pundit is over. The modern audience wants clarity, not chaos, humor, not hysteria. But as the dust settles, a lingering question remains. Is this new era of political combat, where the takedown is more important than the truth, a necessary purge of a stale and dishonest system? Or have we simply traded one kind of clown show for another?